Hey guys, Len with 715 Outdoors here, and I first of all just want to thank all my new subscribers. I have gotten, I'm getting almost 2 new subscribers a day over the last month. So if you're new here, thanks for stopping by. I hope I earned your subscription today. And if you're a returning subscriber, thanks for coming back. This is a video that has a lot of deer, a lot of action, a lot of bucks, and we're gonna see if I get it done today. I get an opportunity that maybe a lot of hunters don't get, so I hope you'll hang out and check out the video. Honestly, I have so much footage to edit because honestly, this was just one of these amazing hunts where I saw just a ton of deer, a ton of bucks, and I saw this really unique 3-legged buck with a deformed left side, and I got really cool footage of him. But I set up my tree stand here in a different spot, and I moved it basically 25 yards to the other side of the pine trees, where you've seen, if you've watched any of my past videos, I'm basically on the other side of these pines now. I guess I would be just to the east, about 25 to 35 yards from where I was. And I no more than get in my stand within 10 or 15 minutes, guys. I'm just surrounded by deer. Deer just come down the ridge and they are everywhere. And I have deer crossing the creek bottom. I don't even have everything on film here. I'm just trying to film kind of a wide shot to get a broad view of exactly what it is that's going on. And of course, I have some does and small bucks come down in my area first. And my thinking is I have doe tags to fill, and I still have a buck tag to fill too, of course. So I'm just looking, I'll take a freezer queen tonight, I'll take a doe, I'll take a nice buck. But later on in this video, you're gonna see I'm presented with a 3-legged buck with a strange, I guess it's his right rear leg that's severed right below the knee, and then his left side is somewhat deformed. And so that's the buck I decide that if he comes into range, I'm taking him. He's a respectable, probably a big 2.5 to a small 3.5-year-old buck. And with his injury, it's hard to say whether he'll make it, whether he can breed or not. And so I just saw it as, if I get an opportunity, I'm going to take him. But here you can see the does and everything kind of milling around here. Nothing too terribly exciting. I'm just waiting for one to come into range. All I see so far are just small bucks and these does. And so I'm just waiting for a doe to come into range. And by the way, I had a 6 o'clock movie to go to with my family here. So I'm sitting here like, okay, I can hunt from I got out of the stand just about 2:45. I'm gonna hunt until 4:20, 4:25 I think was the end of shooting light, and then get showered and changed and off to the movie. And so I'm thinking this is working out great. A doe is gonna come into range. I can get her taken care of nice and early, get her out of the woods, and still have time to get to the movie with my family. So this is what unfolds. And so naturally what's going to happen is this little yearling buck is going to come in and leave his does, which one of them I suppose could even be his mother, behind, and he's just going to come right under my tree stand, right about here. He is probably 12 yards away. You can see the broadhead on the left side of the screen there. I have a camera mount on my bow, and so this little buck is just walking right in, has no idea yet what it is he could be walking into. So I don't know what it is that inclined, like the wind is perfect for me here. The wind is literally blowing behind me. It's coming from that buck's back. And so I don't know if I made a movement. Now, at some point, there were bucks off to my right about 80 or 90 yards that were big bucks. I saw them crossing the creek bottom, and I don't know if I looked to the right, because I'm holding my bow, pointing it, aiming it, or facing it at this buck here. And right here, he's like, I think that what happened is that when I looked toward those bucks, he just saw the movement of my head, and he didn't quite like it. He's like, oh, gotcha. So that's an educated buck right there. That's how bucks get smart. So right here, he gives me, if he was 2 years older, that would have been a dead buck. That's a beautiful quartering away shot, a shot, inside of 15 yards that we would all love to have. And oh, there he goes. He gives me another beautiful quartering away shot, but you're not the right buck, buddy. Maybe next year, but for sure in 2 years. And now, of course, the does are suspicious of me because of the buck's behavior. And I honestly, the tree is between me and the deer, and I'm kind of leaning to the left of the tree. They know something isn't right. This doe is probably 25 to 30 yards away. And keep in mind, I'm looking up the hill. So the further up the hill they are, the more close they are to eye level with me. It's probably 100 feet in elevation that they're coming down to the creek bottom. So this ridge, again, just littered with deer. And if you look through the trees here, you can see the movement of does and fawns moving around. And I'm just trying to pan around to get an idea. I'm trying to watch the deer with my eyes at the same time as I'm panning the camera. Unfortunately, I'm not panning high enough here, so I'm just going to cut this part. So now off to my right, I catch movement right where this fallen log is. I've zoomed in the best I can here. And keep in mind, I'm trying to just watch all of these does and fawns and small bucks, and I just see a giant buck creeping through. And unfortunately, he's way out of range. This is 120 yards away. There he is, right there. Right there, if you look kind of in above that fallen log, you'll see him slipping through. And unfortunately, he was just too far away. I've seen this buck twice now, and he's just always skirting around me. He's always just way outside my range. And this is a buck who I'm sure, there he is right there. You can just see him slipping through. That's a buck who knows he's being hunted. Randy's hunting this buck too. That's one of Randy's target bucks for sure. So it was cool seeing that one out there as well. So I realize now that buck I've got no shot at it, and here's these does and fawns all around me, and they're very suspicious. I'm 25 feet up in the air, but those deer are really probably only about 10 to 15 feet in elevation lower than me. So that doe obviously is wise to what's going on there. And I'm seeing enough does and I'm seeing enough buck action that instead of taking one of these does, which I'm pretty confident right there, that's about a 30-yard shot for me. I could have taken her, but I'm just thinking that there is a buck that's going to be on its way. And so I just decided that I was going to be patient. These deer aren't spooked. They don't love it. They don't love what's going on here. They're suspicious, but they're not spooked. So as I'm watching these does, I look over to my left and I notice a nice buck, and I've seen this guy. You see him limping into focus here. So I'm just gonna try to zoom in on him so you can see what I'm looking at. But this buck, I saw him a week ago, and I thought he had a broken off left side from fighting, but you can see him pushing with his leg there. Let me back that up and zoom in on that. So I don't know if you could discern there just how hobbled he is, but here you can kind of get a decent view of his rack once he comes out from behind this tree. And I apologize for this Blair Witch shaky cam deal. Obviously, I'm new to self-filming my hunts, and sometimes I wonder if this is costing me opportunities. If I wasn't focused on filming this buck, would I give myself a decent opportunity at him? So that last bit of walking you saw him coming down the ridge there, you can really get an idea for how hobbled this buck is. And in fact, when I first saw him and didn't realize he was missing that part of his leg, I thought that he was actually like squatting down to urinate into a scrape or something. I've never seen a buck walk like that before, but the way its haunches dropped, I just wasn't sure what he was doing. So he's stepping into this opening, and right here I've got him moved at, I've got him at 42 yards. And I actually, here you can see I'm going to switch sides of the tree here. I'm going to bring my bow up over the other side of the tree because I'm really considering taking this shot, giving very strong consideration to taking this shot. He's given me a nice quartering away with his head down facing away from me. And, but it's just too obstructed, as you can see here. And so this is cool. This little buck approaches old Tripod here, and they start to spar a little bit. They start to rattle their horns together. Obviously, neither one of them are taking the battle terribly seriously, but this is about the best look you get at that left antler and how it's not grown quite right. But this is he's not a bad buck, but he's a buck that needs to be taken out of the herd. And I'm just hoping he just comes down, that like most bucks, he doesn't go with the groupthink of the does who are starting to actually work their way back up the hill. I'm keeping my eye on the does and all the smaller bucks and what they're doing, and they're all starting to work actually back up the hill. But these two are just hanging around, and I'm hoping that he doesn't give in to the groupthink and he starts to make his way towards me. This is where I start to really get my hopes up. He's looking toward me. He's starting to turn back toward me, and I'm thinking, man, here he comes. Here he comes. But unfortunately, he stands there again. A 42-yard shot here. He hasn't moved much. And in fact, I'm not super confident from this distance, but I feel like this is a big enough buck, a big enough target. And as hobbled as he is, missing that back leg, it's hard to imagine him ducking an arrow. But, you know, what would be the point in further wounding this buck and losing him altogether? So this is where, sadly, me and Tripod part ways. He starts to work his way back up the ridge, and that opportunity is gone. But more deer come, and we'll just look at deer now for the rest of this video. So as I'm watching all these deer, just the whole ridge is alive with deer. This this little buck sneaks up on me, and we're getting real close to 4 o'clock here. If it's not 4 o'clock yet, it's really close. So you can really see how it's kind of starting to get dark, and the camera's having a little bit of difficulty focusing here. But let's see what happens next. So on my right, I've got these 4 bucks, and over here to my left, I've got doe patrol happening. I still have 3 does over here to my left, which looks harmless enough until you see what happens over here. You've got one that scroll, move right behind that tree. There she is. She's looking up. What are you doing up there? What are you? What are you? She is suspicious. Well, maybe she isn't too suspicious. Little suspicious, but we'll give you the pass. All right. So I still got my little bachelor group of bucks over here. This is 4 year-and-a-half old bucks. One of them might be a small 2.5-year-old, but they're just they've come down the ridge into the creek bottom, and unfortunately, none of them are the buck that I'm looking for. But it's pretty cool nonetheless to see this volume of bucks hanging around. And this is in town, guys. This is very little hunting pressure. I've got backyards behind me, So this is what unpressured deer act like. Deer that are kind of accustomed to the hustle and bustle of people and car doors slamming and lawnmowers and snow blowers, of course, this time of year. And yeah, the green thing hanging off the side of a tree maybe looks weird, but maybe not as unusual as a heavily pressured deer on a piece of public land. And so this suspicious little 2.5-year-old guy comes in, and he knows something isn't right. He's with the bachelors with the 3 younger bucks, and he knows, hey, what is going on down here? Something ain't quite right. This buck's probably 35 yards away. Not quite the one we're looking for, though. He's not even as big as the disabled tripod, but he's certainly a good buck. But next year he'll be a real dandy. But he's just not the one we're looking for tonight. And this is where the battery dies, guys. This is after almost 2 hours of filming with 2 different iPhones. So a great night of hunting, guys. This is why I love bow hunting. It's not often you get action like this, and this late season, I don't know if you would call this second rut action or whatever, but it's just absolutely spectacular. I lost count at 26 deer. I know there were 11 bucks. I know 11 bucks came through, but I lost count at 26 deer running this ridge. So it was a great night. I wanted to share this with you. This is 2 hours of footage I've cut down to just over 30 minutes. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I apologize for it being for so long, but I hope I earned your subscription today, guys. So please subscribe if you haven't. Hit the like button, and I will see you on the next one.